Our first speaker is a champion for sports and development of our youths in Trinidad and Tobago. He is fearless, he is outspoken, he is the host of the hit talk show, Douglas Politics. Please help me welcome to the UNC virtual platform, Senator Anil Roberts.
Democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah. Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I want to hear everybody say.
Good evening, my UNC family. Let us first of all start with a 10 seconds meditation, prayer, whatever religious faith you belong to. Let us pray for our citizens out there who are suffering under heavy rainfall, people who have lost everything, those whose houses are flooded out, to all of those who worked hard, who worked tirelessly, not effortlessly, as Stuart Smallpin Young said, to all of those who helped people come out across the east-west corridor down in south, to those who went in boats and saved children. Let us stop for a moment to say thank you, to say a prayer for them, because leadership begins with love. Leadership begins with concern. We cannot pray enough for our citizens who have been flooded out, who at this moment are crying after spending all of their savings to fix their houses, and now the government, the heartless government, is coming to give them property tax on that. So let us pause for a moment to pray for our citizens. Leadership begins with heart. Why is heart important? Heart is important because heart shows love and care. And once a leader has love, he or she will care about the citizens, and the policies will be implemented to improve the lives of the citizens. A mother shows love for a young baby like no one else can. I am a father, and quite a good one, but I could tell you, my first daughter, when she was born, Rebecca, who's 25 now, she was 6 months old, and her mother was holding her in her arms at 4 a.m. when I was going off to coach. And as she opened the door to let me out, she tripped and fell. She was holding the baby in her arms, and as she tripped and fell, her hands never flinched. Her muscles never moved. She fell straight on her knees, scraped both knees, and was bleeding from both knees. I screamed out, "Girl, what happened?" And she shouted back at me, "She's okay, she's okay," talking about the baby. I say, "Not the baby, you, girl, will you fall down?" And then I understood that a mother, the instinct of a mother changes from self-preservation to preservation of a child. Why do I tell you that? Because fathers, we could love, but it's conscious love. It's not instinctive like that. To preserve another's life without thought, without cognitive ability, is an amazing thing. That is why a mother is important. When we are talking about leadership in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a choice between a mother and a grandmother and a father who does not even care about his own outside children. A man who does not even care about his people. A man who is heartless. And when you start heartless, you finish terribly. And your country spirals down into failed status, failed nation status with nothing functioning. Kamla Prasad Bisesa starts with love. Rowley starts with greed. We are in the perfect storm of heartlessness, callousness, and greed. Legalized thieving without procurement. That's why heavy rainfall causes the devastation that we're having now. Keep in mind, we're not in a tropical storm, not in a hurricane, not in a cyclone, not in a category 5. We're just in rainy season. And everything is in a calamitous state because Rowley starts without love. He loves himself and his pockets. He loves Noel Garcia and whatever he have in the big bag that I saw him coming out Massey stores with one day. I thought I saw Rowley name on it. but I'm wearing glasses now, so I ain't sure. I thought I saw it. But when we talk about love, let me talk to you tonight. Because a lot of you over the years have believed the hype and the nonsense and the propaganda perpetrated by the PNM mass media and by Rowley and his miscreants, lie after lie after lie. Let me tell you 10 things tonight. There are 2 leaders on offer to guide you and to guide this country forward. There is Kamla Persad-Bissessar and there is Keith Christopher Rowley. I'm just going to make 10 short points for each and every one of you to show you that whenever the time comes, whenever you get that opportunity, you must vote Kamla. You must fire Rowley and hire Kamla. Point number 1, Paria. 39 hours. 39 hours, 4 men in a pipe under 50 feet of pressured water, speaking, broken legs, alive, breathing oxygen, surviving. 39 hours underneath, waiting for someone to come and rescue them. Keith Christopher Rowley, Stuart Smallpin Young, Newman George, Colin Piper, and all the Paria people, including Mr. Way, who embarrassed himself in the Commission of Inquiry, taking decisions to ensure that they died. That's what the PNM did. As their parents were left outside under a galvanized shed in rain, hot sun, no water, no food, treated like dogs outside, no information. UNC members, councillors, David Lee, MP for the Point-a-Peg, going there to try to assist Victor Roberts and so on. But the PNM left the families outside. That's Rowley. Now, for a moment, picture if that accident happened while Kamla Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister. First and foremost, her security detail would have been instructed to take her immediately to that site. She would have ensured that all family members and anybody would have been ushered into a conference room, fed, given coffee, pizza, whatever they want. She would have instructed and gotten a report from the Minister of Energy. She would have gotten a report from the MP of the area, MP Lee. She would have gotten all the intel and instructed and taken the lead there to be the decision maker. She would have gathered all the information, got the risk going, and within an hour or 2, she would have also spoken to Christopher Brudram before he got in the ambulance to ensure and get information and instruct those to go down and save the men. And if you have to do whatever you have to do, get in there and save the men. She would have been down there leading the charge, not hiding away. She would have taken responsibility because of the love, because of the care. She would have had the chairman and the entire board right there, anyone and everyone. She would have had the first responders, everybody. She would have ensured that those men, if they had a chance to survive, they would be alive. And I guarantee you, in 39 hours, she would have gotten them out. So fire Rowley and hire Kamla. When you see our children lying down on the terrazzo floor as bullets ring out over their heads and a teacher is trying to keep them calm, and yet in the video it strikes you as weird that these children, these little babies are so disciplined. You get the sense that they've been through this before, and then you get information that it's a regular occurrence that was kept secret, that bullets ring out over their heads throughout the day as they're learning mathematics, geography, they're doing their social studies. Did Rowley go to that school to see those children, to talk to them, to make them feel confident that they are cared for and loved? As soon as that video would have been uploaded on social media, Kamla Persad-Bissessar would have called her Minister of National Security, her MPs. She would have called her security and she would have driven up to that school and given each and every child in that school a hug, talk to them and let them know, hear from the teachers what is the situation. She would have then installed army all around that school and that entire area. She would have blocked off there, put police posts and taken action to keep her children safe, because she's a mother who loves children. she would not have had a Minister of National Security saying, "Oh, those bullets were 200 meters away," even though an AR-15 could kill you from 600 meters. The man cannot even stay awake in a press conference. He's so high on sativa, smoking and flowing all through his mind. He's such a useless human being. Fitzgerald Talbot Hines, I agree with the Express. You are dense. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Flooding. If there was flooding in Trinidad and Tobago, and there was, and you know when Kamala swore in to be Prime Minister on the 26th of May 2010, on the 27th there was the heaviest rainfall for decades, and the place flooded out. Kamala took off her shoes, spoiled all her makeup that the makeup artist took her time to do, and the hairdresser got out on the ground to go and see people, called all her ministers and MPs out there. After she saw and she comforted thousands of people, she got a cabinet meeting and instructed them that whatever existed was not good enough. She told Chandra Sharma, she told Sandy, she told all the ministers what needed to happen, and since then, after that, anytime there was rain or floods, service was given to the people immediately with immediate response. ODPM took charge. That is Kamala. That is love. That is heart. Fire Rowley. Hire Kamala. Farmers were getting 1.2 billion under Kamala. Under PNM previously it was 400 million. There were access roads, ponds, Pradia Larceny unit coming. There were markets being made, advancements and increase. There were subsidies going to be given on chemicals for farmers. Farmers were treated with respect. There was a localize it program to encourage change of diet. School feeding and ministries were encouraged to utilize and purchase goods from the farmers, to increase the acreage, to feed ourselves, to lower the subsidy, to lower the food import bill of $5 billion. That is Kamala. Rowley came in and cut all the expenditure. Rowley does not care about farmers. Farmers are suffering from flooding. Flooding right now. Have you seen Rowley? Where is Rowley? Have you seen Rowley shake a hand, give out a Clorox, give out a mattress, give out a mop, a broom? Have you seen Rowley? Fire Rowley and hire Kamala. That would be the difference. The flooding would not be so great because Kamala spent money on the rivers, clearing them, dredging the river mouths, ensuring that there was drainage, billing box drains, ensuring that the maintenance was done. Rowley says, wean yourself off the government, which means when it rains, we are like a swimming pool. Trinidad and Tobago is an Olympic-sized swimming pool with the water flowing nowhere because he does not care. He wants to be in Blenheim on the golf course and ensure that his recusal twins could make money and pay rent for Faris Al-Rawi building. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Water. Under Kamala Prasad Bisesa, you had Ganga Singh, a man who understood Wassa, understood water, created back under Pandey, brought in the desalination plant, Desalcott, to take water from the sea to use in the energy sector that was booming. And it was profitable. The PNM has come in and they put a man called Marvin Gonzalez, who more interested in which man driving what van than to give you water. Under Kamala Prasad Bisesa in 2014, 74% of you could turn on your tap in your house and get water. Kamala Prasad Bisesa has called, as Desalcott now is supposed to go down for maintenance. She is asking that Desalcott hold on because the central and southern region require the desalination pure water in order to survive, because Wassa cannot deliver, the PNM cannot deliver, and they have not delivered. 12% of the population now get a 24/7 supply. It's the worst in the history of Trinidad and Tobago because Rowley put a man who knows nothing about Wassa, and now we have no water. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. When you see the infrastructure damaging and all across the country, roads collapsing, bridges collapsing, landslides and so on, that is from lack of work, lack of expenditure, lack of maintenance, lack of effort, lack of brain. It's a perfect storm of greed and incompetence under Rowley. But did you think about one other thing that is causing our roads to erode from underneath? For the last 6 years, yes, they've been there, Sam. But for the last 6 years that we have on record, from the Joint Select Committee into WASA, approximately 4.2 billion gallons of potable water leaks out under the ground in Trinidad and Tobago every month. Every single month. That is approximately 50 billion gallons of water going under our infrastructure, under our roads, eating away quietly and silently that you cannot see. For the last 6 years, that is 300 billion gallons of water under our infrastructure. Now you understand why roads are collapsing, bridges are collapsing, roads are disappearing. It's not only the lack of the drainage work, it is not only the lack of maintenance and paving, it's not only the lack of box drain, it's not only the lack of clearing the bush off the hills, it's not only the lack of cutting down trees that are falling, it is the incompetence of the water under WASA being spurting out and eating away our country from the inside out. And then we see the papers saying, where's the mitigation plan? And some of the editorials saying, Rowley, give him another chance. Vote Kamala. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Fuel subsidy, Kamala left it there. She left it there for you, the people, to benefit. Whether you have a car or you don't have a car, to keep food price inflation down, to keep the prices of medicine down. Kamala said, that is for my people. I love my people. Leave the fuel subsidy. Rowley said, give me that. My boys, the recusal twins, need money to spend. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Judith Jones report, December 13, 2021. Rowley receives a report that children are being raped, buggered, mutilated, beaten and battered. And up to now, that sick man has done nothing because he has no love in his heart. Leadership starts with love. Health system. Kamala loves people, loves children. Children hospital. She has in her team right now 4 qualified doctors, surgeons of the highest order. Rowley has none. He finds a druggist who could not even pass a pharmacological exam and puts him in charge of health. The dunce then chooses a man who should be painting sign in Queen's Hall to put him in charge of the health sector. And you can't get a Panadol. When you go into the hospital, it's flooding. They need to push you into ICU on a floating mattress because Rowley is heartless, incompetent, and chooses incompetence. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Indemnity. Imagine Keith Nasty Rowley lies so much. When you lie, you can't have a case against human beings because the truth has to go in court. You could lie out here, you could lie in the parliament, but evidence is needed in a court of law with judges who are supposed to be impartial. Keith Christopher Rowley has an attorney general, former attorney general, who's now walking around telling you, move your cars when the water come in and the flooding, and move your structure. I think he lift too much weight, the blood rush from the little 2 brain cell he have and it gone. He tell all you, move all your structure. Like he finished, he watched Superman last night and say, yes, all we could move structure. This bag of idiots that they have. That's what they choose, and they sit down and negotiate and pay money and indemnify a criminal, induce, misbehave in public office, pervert the course of justice. If Kamala Prasad Bisesa was there, one, she'd have an attorney general who's intelligent and not a complete dunce. She would never allow an attorney general to break and breach the law and cross over into the constitutional duty of the DPP. And if they made the mistake to do that, she would have fired them. Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. And when you hire Kamala and you hire the UNC and she has heart, a leader with heart looks for people in her likeness, people with heart, people who are qualified in their field, who care about people. When you hire Kamala, you will also fire Foster. Foster, where all that money get in your account in venture credit union, your court closed, you better have a whole cupboard, you big clown, you and MTS, Jackie Lazarus, you talking about Kamala House? When you hire Kamala, you fire Camille and she bag of money that she signed a declaration, 143,000 cash. She ain't know where it come from. When you hire Kamala, you fire Limo. When you hire Kamala, you fire Johnny Sukaran. When you hire Kamala, you fire Imbert. When you hire Kamala, you fire Shamfa. When you hire Kamala, you fire Marvin. When you hire Kamala, you fire Minister of Bundles. When you hire Kamala, you fire Convent Girl. Convent Girl, could you believe this man live in Greenville Avenue in St. Joseph, a seat that will go to the UNC once the election call one time, and the whole street flood out. UNC Councillor Seema Augustine was there with our team. That man, Convent Girl Terence Dialsing, his electronic gate fall down, and he gone and get crews of people to help him clean his own house while his neighbors stay in mud and dirty. He didn't ask them for help. There was old people home 2 houses down. He leave the old people in wheelchair, in the mud, in the nastiness, in the water, while he fix himself. Do you think that could be a Kamala MP? Do you think Kamala MP could see about their own house and leave people suffering and not tell them, vote Kamala, fire Rowley, hire Kamala? When you hire Kamala, you will fire the pumsite, nasty, disgusting, dense, dote, sativa, narcolepsy, disgusting, Fitzgerald, Ethelbert, Hines, that Manning would have never give a portfolio. Once you fire Rowley, you get rid of Hines. So fire Rowley, hire Kamala. When you hire Kamala, you get rid of Rowley the liar. You get rid of Rowley the heartless. You get rid of Rowley the village ram who let him go on anything inside the cabinet. Rowley the saddest. You get rid of Rowley the golfing oppressor. You get rid of Rowley who legalized thieving by gutting procurement. The PNM must be fired. All must be fired. Call elections now. Unite under Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Unite under the UNC. Save Trinidad and Tobago. Vote smart. Vote hard. Vote early. Vote in your numbers. Vote UNC. God bless. Good night.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom.
Fire Rowley, hire Kamala. Thank you, Senator Annie Roberts. Our next speaker is a veteran UNC warrior. He is a master debater, and his trademark wit and humor is legendary. He is a firebrand in the parliament and on the platform. And in a few moments, you will see why. Please welcome Deputy Political Leader and Member of Parliament for Oropouche East, Dr. Rudal Muninal.
Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I almost get worried when you called me the master debater. A few years ago, the PNM had a senator, and I think they mixed up some words with him. But I'm happy that I debate. The Honorable Political Leader, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, members of the National Executive, officers of the party, folks assembled in San Fernando tonight, our listeners throughout the Caribbean and the hemisphere, our great friends in Canada, the United States, who are listening this evening, and of course our brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago, who are today under siege and in very difficult times. Tonight is a night when you will find that speakers on this platform, many of us might be angry and compassionate. We will speak with passion, and we may even speak with a deep pain because of the situation we find ourselves in today. Brothers and sisters, here we are. We are now officially in Trinidad under the PNM. We are water world. This country has been washed away. It is washed away today. How did we reach here? Why did we reach here? When did we reach here? You see, our deputy political leader, Jolene John, is fond of reminding us that elections have consequences. She reminds us of that. We are here in this situation because of Keith Rowley and the People's National Movement. There's only one answer to the three questions. That is how we are here today. My brothers and sisters, just when we thought that we would have had time to flesh out the biggest criminal state action in our post-independence history, that being the Nelson Gate affair, just when we were in a collective trance, mulling over the revelations emerging out of our daily TV broadcasts of the tragic incident involving those 4 divers at the end of February, we were listening every hour to the heart-rendering and at times repulsive and stomach-churning responses of state officials. We were witnessing scenes at that commission of inquiry that were unbelievable and incredible. Just when we were doing that, coming to terms with that atrocity committed by this state, suddenly our country became something we saw on CNN and BBC. There are countries of the world, in particular in the Far East Asia and other underdeveloped regions, that are just washed away. When you see images, it is on CNN, BBC. You never thought you would have been seeing that on CNN 3, TV 6. You never thought that this country would be like this, where we have a list of roads that impassable, wash away. Every day, our citizens are seen in floodwaters, bareback, up to their neck, rescuing their loved ones. When did this happen? It happened after 2015 when Keith Rowley took charge of this country. These photographs and short videos show victims submerged in floodwaters. Brothers and sisters, as water come gushing, penetrating into the homes of our brothers and sisters in communities and villages all over Sandy Grande, Tabaquite, St. Augustine, the East-West Corridor, Caroni, South, Siparia, Rochat Douglas Road, Orapuch West, Orapuch East. These are the scenes you see every day. By the hour now, you are getting these videos of flood waters. People are making some humor out of it, but it's really not a laughing matter that this is happening today. The untold damage to property and food crops could be in the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And we are angry because we told them this will happen. We told them that. We told you this would happen. And I begin with my own reality. I believe, sincerely, the PNM just don't care. They don't care. It does not bother them. They have no compassion. Hines goes in the parliament. He said the little children that were ducking under the table when bullets were flying, he said them overreact. There wasn't in any danger. But when 2 fellas kick water on him, he run. He run when they kick water. But when bullet flying, he's only overreacting. But he run from water. That fella. And today, they have no compassion. They have no heart. I tell you, if you open in the middle of their chest here, you will find a vacuum. They have no heart to see this happening. Today, these PNM ministers, where are they? As Anil Roberts asks you, Rohan Sinanan, the last time he was spotted entering a pothole, he never came out. Pothole in this country might have put on headlights when you enter pothole. We cannot see him, he's not there. Every day Alwari having press conference in a jacket in an office somewhere at an undisclosed location. And his big solution is move your house when it starts to rain. Are these people serious? Are they serious? Brothers and sisters, it requires no maths, no degree in nuclear physics to understand what has happened here. This is incompetence, this is neglect, this is discrimination, and this is corruption by the People's National Movement. A newspaper editorial 2 days ago asking for the mitigation plan, Obika. What mitigation plan? They have no plan. What you asking them for plan for? Don't waste your breath, brothers and sisters. 7 years of doing nothing, this what happened. There was never any plan to clean the rivers, dredge the rivers, clear the river mouths, or pave and wall the watercourses. I asked Johansson and Anthony, this year, 2022, how many contracts have you awarded to clear and clean rivers in this country? I put it to you, none. None. They could not even buy what is called a gully sucker, which is a little device to pull out water from a box drain. They couldn't buy that. I think it's about $50,000. They couldn't buy that to clear a box drain. You expect them to clear a river? Brothers and sisters, we caught them in Parliament recently. I want to show you, you can look at something, a page from what is called the development program. During the budget, we asked Johansson and Anna a simple question. We have a page which I can show you from my device. One of the happenings today is we had no time to write. So we put everything on iPad and so on. This is a page from the development program. It will come up in a second. And here, there's a line called Major River Clearing Program. Do you know in 2022 fiscal, they allocated $12 million to this. $12 million. You know how much they spent, brothers and sisters? $1.5 million out of $12 million. When we asked him, but why? There are rivers to clean and dredge and clear. He said, well, the river cleaning program don't have nothing to do with river cleaning. That was his answer on the record. That was the madness he was speaking. Brothers and sisters, they did not even spend the resources that they had to clean the rivers. So today, you have a situation where the rivers are not cleaned, and all the mud, the silt, the sand. I have another picture to show you. This, Jolene, is a photo that was taken by officials of the Shadow Ministry of Works and Transport. So, a good team of people. Look, this is a picture of the Caroni River taken today by the Shadow Ministry of Works and Transport. You give me a clap for that. Huh? So, if you look at this, this is taken today. The reason why this river here backs up on the highway in villages, flood away half of Caroni, this here is the silt, the sand. Look, when you leave the island with all this bush and so on that haven't been cleared either, you come out onto the sea belt, but it's the sand, it is still silt. You understand what happened there? They haven't been clearing and cleaning the river mouths. This is just one, there are others in the country. I am told that if you go there, you could walk, you could put a maxi taxi stand there and collect people in the sea. Because you can walk there, the sea, the sand rose, the silt rose. You have to get heavy equipment, get contractors, a water contract, clear the river mouth, so the water in the low tide will run off your island and go into the sea. Now, what do you think? You would need a PhD in nuclear science to understand that? But rocket science to understand that? Johansson and Keith Rowley, Alwari, Stuart Young, they do not want to stop flooding. Because in their mind, the people who are feeling the pain, who are the victims, they believe they don't need those people. They don't like them. To hell with them. And that is why they left this river like this. And we saw the picture. This is just one. I'm telling you that we could get many. Then when we asked them, but why don't you clean? They said they have no money. COVID, all the money gone on COVID. All you hear that one? All the money gone on COVID, there are no money. Pull up our next picture. Tonight we're moving with pictures, you know. Pull up a picture again, I'll show you now. So we asked, but why? What is this about money? Look at this one. They will bring it up for you. Look at this one. This is where the money went. Restoration of Stallmeyer Castle, $23.5 million. Look this one again. Whitehall restoration, $58.9, that's $60 million to restore Whitehall. But nothing to clean the river mouth by Caroni, you know. Nothing to clear rivers, dredge rivers, nothing for that. Restoration of mill floor building. I think that, Jolene, is where Rowley liked to go on the upper balcony as the emperor listened to violin and cello, is it? Or other wind instruments while sipping a beverage. Yeah, that's what you do. Well, to get that building back to shape was $24 million. Restoration of President House. But where's the president in this national disaster? Where is she? She's sleeping in the president's house under a blanket or a comforter or something like that. A fairly large one. Sleeping under a blanket or comforter, happy in the dry, while all our brothers and sisters, they cannot go downstairs the house. Elderly people, you all know, in families with extended family and so on. Do you know elderly people often, most times, they live on the ground floor because they can't climb the step to go up. So their bed always there. And the medicine kit right there, the fridge there, the stove, it becomes convenient for old people, nana, nanny, and so on, to stay downstairs. All of them, you have to put them on your back and get them a piggyback now to go upstairs. To stay upstairs where you don't have facilities for them because downstairs flood away. Where's the president? She living in a house which they spend money on. $123 million. Imagine that. So the president could be dry, warm, happy. Yeah, while you're up to your neck in water, cesspit water. Yeah, that is the country we live in. That is the PNM. That is what they care about. The last one on this list, construction of the Prime Minister residence, Tobago. Well, here this one, they're attacking me and Wade Mark on this. I don't know if they think we're going to live there. 48.7 million plus 15 million. So when I say 63, they say, no. It's much less than that. But they told us in this response 48.7 million and an unpaid balance of 15 million. $63 million for Rowley and his Tobago house, but you can't get a couple million to clean the mouth of the Caroni River. You can't get the money to clear rivers. You can't get that. And look, the total here, I tell you, look at it in green there. $278 million went to restore these few buildings. Noel Garcia challenging us on the Prime Minister residence. It is here. So brothers and sisters, don't believe, there are a couple myths that they sell us. First, they say, well, the UNC didn't do this, didn't do that. What rubbish is that? When we were in office, yes, rainfall, we didn't have snow. It rained. If you had 2-3 inches of water on the road, that was plenty. We had devastatingly competent ministers of works and a competent prime minister. We had that, and we dealt with rivers, we dealt with drains. They call us box drain government. CPEP had a mandate by their board to undertake small projects to mitigate against flooding. They come there, they want to jail everybody in CPEP. Look what happened today. You wash away villages and communities. You all don't know the hundreds of millions of dollars in loss. Food crops. We ain't start to talk about the crops of farmers yet. The price of food will triple in the coming days, brothers and sisters. A pound of baigan is $25, you know. Eh? Is that true in there? Right now, that will reach $75. But Rowley don't buy food. You see the vendors come into the Prime Minister's house and give you free food. The president don't buy food. So you think they bothered about you, who have to purchase tomatoes and baigan and okra and bodi and so on, while this flood destroys everything? And they eat it, well, I can't pronounce that, encha what? And brothers and sisters, they come now to tell us they don't have money. But when they tell us that you had the money, you prefer to spend it on castles around the savannah than to spend it on drainage and infrastructure. That was the problem. And we must understand that. Then, you know, people in the public, in the media say the UNC and the PNM is the same. Out of respect for everybody and myself, I won't describe that statement. Rubbish. We were there and we dealt with flooding. We dealt with flooding by every agency of the government. The second matter I raise now, before my time comes to an end, we have more speakers, some explosive speakers coming up here, you know. I had to make room. Parliament. The other day, they moved the lower house from lower house to upper house. Well, I get frightened. I thought I lost my work when they do that. We gone there because the lower house, the chamber, leaking. We said, but you just spent $441 million on the Red House restoration and the ceiling leaking. They said, no, that is mischief again you're making, man. It's leaking really, you know. What happened? The air conditioned units have a problem with condensation. And the condensation falling. And that water leaking, but it's not the roof really. You spend $441 million, not one blasted thing must leak. Huh? So mold come on the ceiling and so on, the sending contractor. Tonight I want to ask a couple questions about that disaster in the Red House, brothers and sisters. Mold and water drips and so on. Do you know pieces of concrete fell on the chairs of members of parliament? And what I find was more strange, it fall on the side with the opposition. How come that didn't fall on the side of the government? On the side of the opposition member with concrete fall? Something is suspicious about that, but I'll tell you why. Is it because a company named Udicom was in charge of dealing with the roof of the Red House? Udicom is a company that had the contract to build or fix or refurbish the roof of the Red House. Is that company the same company that has in its employ the wife of a cabinet minister? That is what we ask tonight. We ask, is that the company, Mr. Garcia? Tell us. He always saying we making mischief. You know the same Garcia fella? When we were in government, Jolene, we found out that he took money from the HDC without proper authority. I can say it here. He didn't have proper authority, gone with money. They come to me, they say, should he see jail, yes or no? Then he come with a story, which I don't know if it's real or true or what, but I had compassion. He said he took the money without proper authority. In local parlance, in a way you take it. If you take money without authority, I guess you're a thief. But anyway, he took the money because a relative was sick. Because my heart was so heavy when I hear a relative sick, I say Rudal Munilal will not report him to the police. I saved him on a jail. Today you're telling me we dishonest. Mr. Garcia, you are not acquainted with the truth in this matter of the parliament. Tell us if that company is a company, has in its employ the wife of a cabinet minister. I go no further with that. But to say that if I was Terence the Alsing, I would check the roof of my own house. It could be leaking. And this is not the weather to have a leaking roof. If I was the Alsing, I would check the roof immediately. But that is because this company is a preferred company for several projects. The President House, the Red House, another project on Arapita Avenue at this moment. They're winning all the bids. Why? How? Is it because the wife of a cabinet minister is the operative there? That's why they're so quiet. They say nothing. 210 recusals in the cabinet. When we were there, if we had 2 is plenty. I remember 1 or 2 fellas every year. Somebody step out, and it's not because of no money, you know. It's because maybe the cousin on the first side or the pumpkin side, we want to appoint him to our board. So he said, okay, you come out of the room. Nothing to do with money, brothers and sisters. So the Red House has collapsed. In the Senate, you are seeing the mole as well. So I guess it have condensation problem there too. I think them problem is condensation, carnation, KLM, CLIM, everything. That's the problem them have. Everywhere leaking. In this Red House, I want to tell you, in fact, the first person in the Red House was Donna Cox. She was the first to get wet. She was the first to get wet in the Senate. So, what are you laughing at, so? I'm coming to our next picture now because I want to tell you this because people don't know. In that very Red House, we were designing, we had contractors, we were doing the work. It was taking time, but we were doing the work. Look, I will show you our next picture. They're building the Red House. Look, that's rails, right? You know, when you go around a step and thing, you see rails. They actually pull cable in front of it. Look at the picture. Many of you, I think, have been to Parliament and so on. They pull cable so that members of the public don't go and lean up on the rail. Because if you lean up on the rail, you pelt down yourself and fall down. Yes, because the rails are built with cardboard of some kind. That is what they do in the Red House and boasting about restoration. Look, they put rails. Look, you all see the cable? Cable in front there so that no member of the public go and lean there. I'll tell you something. When my big sister was getting married, my father built a bamboo tent and it was stronger than the Red House. You could have leaned up. You could have leaned up on the side. That is what they did with all the money. Shoddy work. And when we talk about it, they say, what, we making mischief and so on. But that is their proud record, brothers and sisters. The flooding today is their record. You know, if I was in another place at another time, I would encourage all the victims of flooding, where you have your damaged, your destroyed, damaged fridge, stove, blender, toaster, microwave, pack up all and go and dump it on the yard of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. dump it. That is what we have to go to. Go for a protest. We will encourage you when we meet to go on a protest. And on that protest, we will take all those appliances and dump it in front of Balize House as well. Another symbol of corruption that I will talk about another time, because we know what is happening. We have been there. We have seen that. Brothers and sisters, we know what they are doing. Today, they lack compassion. Had we been in government, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa would not tolerate this. She would immediately convene an interministerial committee to fast-track relief to the victims of flooding. She would have done that. Under our government, we established the National Operations Center to coordinate disaster in real time. So when something happened, immediately all agencies of the government know, they dispatch to the scene and bring relief to people. All of this happening, have you all noticed in the pictures and video, you don't see nobody from the government? You don't see nobody from the Defense Force? The only time you see the Defense Force is on Independence morning. They shine up the shoe, the belt, pull up the pants over the belly button, and they walk up and down marching with bright, shiny tractor and backhoe and ambulance and fire brigade and things. But where all of that now? Yeah. They're walking with Heinz and he's sleepwalking at the same time. Brothers and sisters, and they're walking with Heinz. They are not nowhere there. I thought we were seeing the boats of the Defense Force, the manpower, the regiment. There's a battalion, engineering battalion. And I do not blame the Defense Force. The government has to call them out. The government has to call out the Defense Force. They cannot come out just so. So that, imagine Fitzgerald Heinz in charge of the Defense Force. Who he calling out? For what? Huh? The only time they called the Defense Force was to get the phone of a son of a minister somewhere in Lavante Lobitam. So that, brothers and sisters, had we been in office, we would have called out the protective agencies, the Defense Force, all these 7,000 people in the Defense Force, the Coast Guard. What the Coast Guard doing? Park up down Shagaramas, eating 3 times a day when people flooding away. South, Central, East, West corridor. I'm told in Real Spring, HDC Real Spring along the Caroni banks, you are 10 feet of water. But you drowning in that. You could drown in 4 feet of water in a bucket of water. And that is where the state is. So we would have coordinated with the Defense Force. We would have had the National Operations Center fully operational. We would have had an interministerial committee working on relief as we did before. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa had an interministerial committee of which I was a member, and all Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Social Development, Agriculture, we worked together to fast-track relief for victims of flooding when we were in office. But you see, brothers and sisters, they will not do that. They will not do that because they simply do not care. Just remember that. So all that we are saying tonight is to wake up. Wake up. I will end by saying thank you to the voluntary committee, to the private sector. Imagine in using St. Madeleine by the pond, the private sector had to clean up the pond for retention today to save flooding. But more about that the next time. We will mobilize as we did today. All members of parliament, give the UNC members of parliament a round of applause for the enormous work they are doing on the field. Because it is our moral duty as well to help. Thank you all very much. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand. Yeah. Come on! Cause this is the rebel.
You've heard the lion himself. Thank you, Dr. Munilal. Brothers and sisters, our next speaker has been offering dynamic representation to the people of Pointe-à-Pierre ever since he was elected as Member of Parliament in 2015. He is one of 3 UNC deputy political leaders and serves as the opposition chief whip in the House. Please give a warm welcome to the Member of Parliament for Pointe-à-Pierre, Dr. David Lee.
The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing.
Thank you. Good night. Let me first start off by saying good night to our political leader, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Everyone listening on the social media. I want to take it down a notch in a somber mood after Dr. Munilal and Anna Roberts. And maybe Julian John will raise the temperature after me. Tonight, I join this virtual platform. Trinidad and Tobago comes to the end of yet another year of calamity, catastrophe, crisis, and destruction, courtesy who? This Rowley-led government, who has no care or compassion for our citizens. Our nation has been derailed to the point where citizens across our nation are living in fear in their own homes, because if they aren't falling victim to crime, they are falling victims to flood, as Dr. Munilal said, and victims of growing poverty. No one in our country is living in peace under this wicked regime. As we enter December, we all look at the story of the Grinch on the television, but right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the real-life Grinch known as Rowley-led PNM. The Rowley-led PNM has shut down our refinery. The Rowley-led PNM has taken away your safety and security. This Rowley-led PNM has taken away your fuel subsidy. The Rowley-led PNM has taken away your access to roads and good infrastructure. The Rowley-led PNM has taken away thousands of jobs from you, the citizens. The Rowley-led PNM is rapidly taking away hope, stability, and the prospects of a brighter future for this nation. And he's also taken away our democracy in this country, ladies and gentlemen. The question is, how much more we are going to allow him to take from us. On February 25th, 2022, I want to remind this country, we saw the darkest day in our nation on February 25th, 2022. A day when 4 of our sons, 4 of our brothers, 4 of our fathers were abandoned in a pipeline. On February 25th, 2022, we saw wives and children gather for days in anguish in a car park. We saw a nation rally in prayer and hope. But where was the Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy? Tonight, we tell the country every inch of hurt, every horror, and every heartbreak that is revealed at that Paria Commission of Inquiry must be bolted to the chest of Rowley and Young, because they were the leaders in this nation who could have stood with the country to save these divers. Rowley and Young had the power to ensure that these wives and children were in a comfortable room while the search was going on. Did they? No, they abandoned them in rain in a car park. Tonight, I want the country to understand Paria Fuel Trading is a company that falls directly under the purview of this government. This government created Paria and its management. Don't forget that. They shut down Petroleum and they created Paria and they brought in their own management. But even more importantly, Paria is chaired by the friend of the Prime Minister, Newman George. They had full power to use every single arm of the state to help rescue our divers. And 3 of those divers, 2 perished, came from my constituency of Claxton Bay and Gopal Lands. And Christopher Boudram, the lone survivor, also lives in Claxton Bay. They had the full power, as I said, for every single state of the arm of the state to help rescue these divers. We in the opposition knew that the Commission of Inquiry has its work to do, which they are doing exceptionally well, as we commend all the commissioners. But the evidence being revealed is information that we in the opposition, information that OWTU, and information that citizens put forward during this crisis. We revealed that On the weekend of February 25th, there were reports that that Paria had prevented divers from going to help rescue the families. Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to understand here tonight that this level of callousness, this level of recklessness goes beyond Paria. It extends to the government of Trinidad and Tobago because they had the power to handle this catastrophe better. I want to tell this Prime Minister, you had a duty to create a national emergency task force to support Paria to save these divers. And you have heard from Anil Roberts and even Dr. Munilal that if we were in charge, our Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, would have been side by side to ensure that those divers came out safely. The Paria catastrophe will always be a stain on this heartless government, because we in the opposition, together with other members of our society, were highlighting this crisis that was happening. And I want to just turn to a letter. Now, Anil Roberts and myself, we sit on the Joint Select Committee of Energy in the Parliament. And we wrote on the 7th of March to the chairman of that committee, Imbert, and we asked that chairman, Anil, you remember that, and the head of that letter that we wrote, we wanted an urgent meeting to consider and discuss the catastrophic events at Paria Fuel Trading Company on the 25th of February, which cost the lives of 4 divers. We wrote the chairman of the Joint Select of Energy, Imbert, Anil and myself, to start an investigation on behalf of those divers. And some of the areas we had asked Imbert to look at: the events that transpired on the 25th of February, the rescue efforts made by Paria Fuel Trading Company, the communication by Paria to the families of the victims throughout the ordeal, the assistance rendered by Paria to the families of the divers, the selection process of the investigative team, and the terms of reference of the investigative team. So when out there say that the UNC does not work, your parliamentary colleagues do not do the work, we always do the work, my brothers and sisters. I want to tell the Prime Minister, you had a duty. You had a duty to these divers. Every cry and horror you are hearing in the Commission of Inquiry today, your opposition and others were pleading with this government to get involved, to even provide shelter for their wives and children. But they did nothing. All this government had to do was care. All this government had to do was care about those divers. They had no heart, as Dr. Munilal says. Paria management lacked decency and humanity when, without notice, they held a press conference on the Sunday night to announce that the job had gone from rescue to saving those divers to recovery. They wrote off the divers. Every month we are seeing someone in the PNM constituency get a handout, get a grant. You know what is astonishing? Is the fact that since this crisis, these families have been abandoned. This government didn't need a commission of inquiry to know that they should reach out and help these families. There were 4 breadwinners, and they were lost, their lives were lost. Instead, they have been treating these families as if they were the ones who committed a crime against our nation. Imagine Christopher Boudram, a young man who should be called a national hero for the courage he has shown, is on the front page of yesterday's paper saying that Paria didn't even drop a hamper for them. They abandoned these families. That is shameful. This is a heartless government. What is even more damning is that Paria could pay thousands, millions to high-end lawyers to badger and bully Boudram from speaking the truth, but they cannot offer any help. These men were not on any random job. They were working for the National Fuel Trading Company, Paria, which is a state company. They're providing service to this country. Why does Paria have no remorse? How in heaven's name can 4 men die? That Paria official says their role was excellent. We heard that. Excellent. They call themselves, they did an excellent job. I want to ask Mr. Wee. I really want to ask Mr. Wee to explain to us here what he meant that they did an excellent job, and 4 divers lost their lives? Is that the word excellence? Do you remember when this government first appointed an investigative team on March 3rd? Your leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad-Bisesa, raised concerns about the independence of that committee. People like the Energy Chamber were up in arms for her calls. But when you see the horror being revealed at that commission of inquiry today, say, thank God Kamla stood up for them, because this information would have been swept under the carpet by this government. Thank God for Kamla for standing and having the strength to stand up for these families. As the Paria Commission of Inquiry reveals the horror of the Paria catastrophe, I tell this government to call another commission of inquiry. And if you don't, when we return to power led by the Honorable Kamla Prasad-Bisesa, we will call on a commission of inquiry why this government destroyed Petrotrin. Appoint a commission of inquiry to tell this country why you have left $1 billion asset to turn into scrap metal. Appoint a commission of inquiry to tell the country why you fired 10,000 workers and destroyed fence-line communities. In 2 days' time, my brothers and sisters, 2 days' time, on November 30th, 2022, that is on Wednesday, will mark 4 years since this wicked government shut down Petrotrin without a single valid reason. November 30th on Wednesday marks 4 years since this government destroyed our fuel security for our nation. They destabilized the heart of our energy sector, and they destroyed the forex earning capacity of this nation. 4 years ago, this government promised a new Petrotrin. Is Paria this new Petrotrin? A company that abandoned its workers and treats families with disdain. Had Petrotrin been existing, the old Petrotrin, there would have been proper safety regulations in place, and proper expertise and skilled personnel to save these divers. When they fired all, they sent home the experienced safety personnel who could have prevented this crisis. Yet another year has passed, and the government has continued to mislead the population on the refinery. Year after year, they tell us the refinery is reopening, but never follow through. Now, I want to read something here, and I hope Peter will allow me. It's from the Hansard in Parliament. And it's very interesting that when you read it, it was a document, it was on, I think it was in September 19th. Imbert comes to Parliament. Imbert's to read a statement about Petrotrin. And basically what he's saying, that on September 19th, they did an evaluation of the companies that bid for Petrotrin. They had 5 companies, and at the end of it, he made a statement in Parliament that OWTU, Patriotic Technologies, was the preferred bidder for the refinery. That was on September 19th. You know what happened? I think was in November 2019, local government elections were held. You know what happened after the local government election? OWTU, up to today, never got their hands on that refinery. So this government continues to fool OWTU and dangle that Petrotrin refinery in front of their face. And I'm calling on the OWTU here tonight to stop taking basket from this government. Stop taking basket. I want to tell them that the PNM, this PNM-led government, has made our energy sector the most unattractive it has ever been. They had 2 failed bid rounds in that Petrotrin, and they continue to fail. While your homes are flooded, my brothers and sisters, the PNM is building a new Balize house. And I'm sure my leader will talk more on that. While you can't afford rent and cannot find jobs, this government has wasted millions on Nelson Gate. While the government continues to abandon its citizens, continues to neglect its responsibility, we in the UNC, led by Kamla Prasad-Bisesa, continues to stand for the people of this nation. You have a leader of the opposition who continues to be courageous in defending the rights of our citizens. In the last year, we saw she was right. Our leader was right, as always, when she exposed the commissioner merit list and the role that this wicked Prime Minister played in that merit list. In the last year, we saw she was right again when she exposed the Eater Food lawyers. She told you about those Eater Food lawyers, and we saw it in Nelson Gate. In the last year, she was right once again when she exposed the underhanded behavior of members of this wicked government to disrupt the course of justice. My brothers and sisters, my leader is always right. My leader is always right. And I do not understand why the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, especially that Port of Spain sector, do not listen to our leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I have a document here. In the budget of 2020, our Kamla Persad-Bissessar delivered her response on Friday, 11th of October, 2019. She themed her response, National Economic Transformation Master Plan, 2020 to 2025. So when they say we do have plans, our leader have plans, UNC has plans. I just want to read a few items in that budget debate. Hear what our leader said in the first 90 days when we take office. I just want to confer with Dr. Munilal. We will re-establish the Ministry of the People. That is what our leader said. And that is what is required today when this country is seeing the worst kind of flooding for our citizens. She will also re-establish the Ministry of Justice. Those are two things in the first 90 days. That is leadership. She was our great Prime Minister, and she will be our next Prime Minister, my brothers and sisters. So, do not be weak. The time is near. When Dr. Munilal also talked about procurement legislation, our leader fought for that legislation in Parliament, and this wicked, wicked government watered down that version. They brought a watered down bill. And when the other day, I think was in a joint select, there were two individuals on that, on the government side. I think was Minister Dayal Singh and MP Scotland. And could you imagine, they were making excuses to bring that procurement legislation to fruition. What does that tell you, my brothers and sisters? That tells me, that tells us in the UNC that corruption is rampant under this PNM government. Rampant, rampant. So as I end, I really want to say, God bless to our people, our UNC colleagues who have been fighting the flood. I saw Dr. Munilal here tonight with a lot of pictures, and I think he left out the one I saw of him cooking food here today, helping the people of Ochies. Now, I don't think his legs as good as mine, but it's somewhere looking good. It's looking good. So I saw him in short pants with a big belly, and he's turning the pot. So I want to say thank you, as Dr. Munilal said, to all the UNC councillors, all our soldiers who have been fighting and assisting the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Long live United National Congress. Long live the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And the sun will shine again in this country to give us hope and give us hope in this old country. I thank you.
It's about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's revolution. Come on, people. Come on, people. Peoples are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
UNC family, our leader is always right. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Our next speaker has been with the UNC for over 2 decades. She is an accomplished management professional known for her high energy approach, and we are happy to have her with us tonight. This corporate powerhouse serves as an opposition senator and the deputy political leader of the UNC. Please welcome to the UNC virtual platform, the one and only Senator Jerlene John.
Justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to our honorable political leader. She's in the house, people. The political leader is here. Thank you to our MPs, Dr. Rudal Munilal and Dr. David Lee, and of course my senatorial colleague, Senator Anil Roberts. And just as the other speakers before me, as Dr. Munilal said, we are angry because many, many families are under pressure tonight in Trinidad and Tobago. For years, the UNC has been pointing out to the country the PNM blatant neglect of areas they classify as opposition territory. Roads are almost totally impassable. Water courses, rivers not maintained, mainly the south and central areas, destruction of those economies, those local economies, because the PNM downright refused to fix roads. Let us call it like it is. And this is Rowley and Rohan flood. This had nothing to do with anything else. They fixed nothing, they cleared no rivers, and tonight people are suffering because of their callousness. PNM refused to fix roads, to clear rivers, and they explained it as they don't care about that because that is as a result of people who have built on lagoons. This open, naked discrimination. They don't feel they have to respect anybody. So the current flooding hazard is as a result of the unwillingness, particularly over the last 7 years, to maintain and clean, dredge, and remove sedimentation buildup in the main water courses. And you would have heard the speakers before me saying just about the same thing, but we just have to reiterate. So this evening, Trinidad and Tobago is a disaster zone. I mean, my brother just texted me from Boston and said somebody told him there's flooding in Trinidad. So we are known for anything. We are known for our skills. We are known for our diversification. We are known for our football. All we are known for is crime and people house and their life floating away. Right? So tonight, we are all united because those who built on the Lagoon Bank and those in 7th Avenue Malik, those in Manzanilla with no access, or those in Lady Young Road, no access, those in Tabakeet, at Michael Gap, Brasso Village, or those in Valsay North, house flood out. Tonight we are united by a disaster caused by willful negligence, bad mind, callousness, and gross incompetence. Lives destroyed. Because PNM don't understand, the rain is an act of nature, but flooding is the result of gross PNM negligence and incompetence. Gross negligence. From the time I entered school in Charleville, at 5 years old, they told me it's a 2 season, wet and dry in Trinidad. You all heard that? We are 2 seasons, wet and dry. And from time immemorial, every single government, during the dry season, they are preparing and taking mitigating actions because they know the wet will follow the dry. It's only in the Rowley PNM, they have no time for this. They did absolutely no work for all these years. And the Ministry of Works and Transport is led by a man who, in order to genuflect before his PNM masters, stood on a political platform throwing shade on his own race, claims he's the most honest Indian, which by implication is if you are not a PNM Indian, you're not honest. What we now know for certain is that he's really the most incompetent and dangerous Indian. That is what we know. Useless. He has the temerity when people live under pressure to say don't post no picture, because that is what they do. They hide everything. They are talking about people will panic. People in trouble, everything they work hard for floating away in flood waters, and you're telling them to keep it secret. Just this evening in El Carmen, a woman driving, going home, missed the edge of the road. She drowned, she reached home. That is what is going on out there. Total chaos. And Hines and Alwari on Saturday night, dancing. Hines telling you, I'm going to do the Rasta dance. You understand? They care for nobody. It's the most heartless, cruel, disgusting group of people that we have ever had. So I saw Rohan on Friday saying when our MP Saddam Hussein was saying that he need pumps to pump out water in Arangua. What he said? He said, Rohan said, well, the pumps here and the water there. And the water need to meet to the pump. and the water a meeting he pump. So I don't know if the council to pick up the water and take it to Rohan pump. I don't understand it. I mean, it's only Rohan and Rowley. I mean, in his cabinet is only quacks, invalids, and crooks. Pick up the worst that is trying to be able and put them inside that cabinet. And now they're talking all kind of foolishness. For years, I did no work. Right? It's either while people's lives are destroyed, Rohan too busy selling raffle tickets to build Balizé House. Or so his master Rowley explained their mysterious source of fund. But as Dr. Mulal said, that's another story. So there he stood puffed up and self-righteous in his incompetence, telling us that you need to bring the water to the pump. I really don't know. That is why it's water flooding and destroying your crops, breaking your house in multiple pieces, roads impassable. To go to see just now, we're taking 2 days. And yet, they show their naked bias and their meanness. I've said ad nauseum that an organization takes on the DNA of its leader. It mirrors, it mimics the behavior of their leader. So the most disrespectful, bold-faced, evil, cruel attitude of Rohan's leader is reflected in him. He cannot care less who, according to his leader, who live, and who dead. So why so much rain and flooding yesterday? An old lady from Prescott Lane, Tunapuna, died in a house fire because that someone said, welcome to Trinidad, where we are surrounded by water, flooded by water, but don't have water in our taps and hydrant. Today, whilst everybody flood, people drowned in water, every river burst their bank. At the press conference today, the Minister of Public Utilities telling us, he said, conserve water. Yes, you can't make this up. He said conserve water, and all around, every house like an island on its own. So we have lived through the horrors of the hours, the minutes, and precious seconds passing by with divers. You realize every speaker just talking about the same thing because we are hurt. It is just too much pain. You know, you sat there. We saw or heard about divers on standby, ready to save lives. And the PNM political appointee is not lifting a finger to save those lives. Last week, he did not have a dry eye. I mean, people were texting me and say, oh God, I wept so much when Christopher Bodram relived the horror of telling us why he's alive. And you could see the guilt. He just feels so broken. You understand? Yet, Paria personnel, who with the responsibility for managing incidents, could have told Trinidad and Tobago with arrogance and their PNM smugness, no remorse for their lack of urgency, their inhumanity, leading to the loss of 4 young lives. Michael Wee said Paria has done excellent. Children will grow up without fathers, wives without their husbands and main breadwinners, mothers without their sons. But for little Wee and his handlers at Paria, that is excellent. You see, the PNM has dropped the bar so low that to find people like little Paria Wee, we have to limbo below the white line in the road. When I was at the HDC and Dr. Munilal was the Minister of Housing, when rain set up, we know that Oropun flooding. We know Greenvale flooding. You know what happened? Not only were the pumps working, well maintained, and inside that river course, we put personnel on the banks of the river, waiting on the people's house. They were there waiting for flood to come. I went back, you know why we were compelled to do that? Not only responsibility, because, and I was looking back to see some write-up of our then Prime Minister. And in a Guardian, Tuesday, 3rd August 2010, a Michel Labor article, reported Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa says technical personnel will be looking at the Diego Martin River to determine what caused it suddenly to change its course. She made this comment yesterday whilst we're standing on what was once a lawn behind the Hassan Ali Street Diego Martin, home of a flood victim. The Prime Minister said, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, don't get mixed up. We want to give God thanks and praise. No lives were lost. We will continue to do all that we can. It is obvious the river changed its course and so on. She said she's sending officials who will be looking on. They'll be looking at getting the river back on course while admitting, she said, we have to bring immediate relief. We have, what Kamla Prasad Bisesa said, we have to bring immediate relief. A lot of food stuff. Technical people will be looking at it. That was a Prime Minister. And that will be our next Prime Minister. She had a 29-seat majority, yet she didn't have enough votes in Diego Martin, not the East, West, and Central, to have won a seat there. But she found herself on the location, on the site, on the river bank, in her boots, because there was human suffering. And that is what a prime minister does. That is how you use power. So we keep signaling to the country that what the PNM is doing, the manner in which they conduct their business is not normal. It is unacceptable. It is inhumane. They have normalized cruelty. They have normalized gross incompetence, corruption. As Dr. Mulal said, the Red House roof collapsed. When we had that Red House down to renovate, that Red House was supposed to be the parliamentary precinct. Not only that, the only reason we did not complete it was because we came upon, the people who were excavating, came upon some bones of the first peoples dating back 900 AD and 1400 AD. So we stopped out of respect. The UNC is a respectful group of people. So when you hear them jumping up and talking about we didn't finish it because we had to stop for 1.5 years to ensure that they could have exhausted the excavation. So that's what we did then. And you know, of course, the media are asking them why the ceiling fall out, because they are taking a month. 30 days, they said. And if they're taking 30 days, they're running down the clock into Christmas recess. So we are going to know the inside there for Christmas, still renovating. That ain't normal. If the good work was done, when they're telling they save all this money, all they have done is to change scope. They changed the scope of work. What we were doing was a parliamentary precinct. They cut it down, and then did not supervise the work properly. So I want to tell you, when the time comes, we are going to get the budget. Because, you know, the media are questioning them, but when I was at HEC, there was a journalist who made a career out of calling me to ask if Dr. Munilal brother got any work at HTC. You said no. You know if he get any work with any contractor as a subcontractor? Can you imagine how far they were going to investigate and interrogate the UNC? But we don't behave like this D.L. Singh wife. His brother never got a cent work. Because we are run by a woman who conducts herself properly. And what Rowley does to make himself look big and feel big, he wants to bring her down small, talking about naivety and foolishness, but that can never diminish the majesty of her work. Every day he has to live with that work. Right? They promised, I said, the UNC and the Then People's Partnership, had already designed a 1,400-bed hospital for Port of Spain. 1,400 beds. They came to change it. They said they only deal with a central block. Now, of course, they fire the main contractor and then congregate, of course, a mishmash of their friends. I hope Unicot is aware that hospitals are the most complex and regulated building types. Hospitals are specialized construction, and over the years, standards and requirements of healthcare buildings and hospitals have become more and more complex and require deeper level of expertise. Unicot owes this country a duty of care, which means this facility should be constructed by personnel experienced in that. It has to be built to the highest code of safety. It means when everything falls down, hospital have to be standing up to provide shelter. So what it should not be is a safe haven to insert willing contributor to the PNM Balizé House Building Fund. It ought not to be that. Because I recall, Dr. Mulal, when we were doing the Couva Children's Hospital, there's a group called UE Seismic Research Center. They say it's on an earthquake belt or earthquake zone, and it got fall down and all kind of confusion. We went before the Joint Consultative Council and held many meetings, answered every question of our technical team, because that is the way the UNC conducts its business. We don't build roof that does fall down. And what I want to tell you, Nicole, I hope they know if it is, it didn't fall within that 1 year period of liability, they have latent effect. Don't go and double dip and pay for that twice. We go find out when we come in, and we ain't gonna be pleased about that. That is a latent defect. Don't take on that cost. All right, so as I said, the then government of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bissessar was already, the technocrats were already in talks with the government of the United Kingdom for government to government. And I can tell you, when Kamla Prasad Bissessar returns as the Prime Minister, the Port of Spain General Hospital will be a priority project, and it will be built in 24 months, just as the Couva Children's Hospital, within time and within budget, and built by people who know what they are doing. So, in addition to coal pot and bicycle, we really need Noah Ark with Warohan and them have us going through outside of them. UNC is a party of love, justice, delivery, equity, and the Constitution. I mean, I recall, and leader just allow us to advocate on your behalf, please. You don't talk about yourself. I recall in September 2010, there was heavy flood in a place called St. Joseph Village. That is Eastern Main Road, Laventille. You think anybody there vote for Kamla Prasad Bisesa? There was heavy flooding. And at 4 a.m., the Minister of Works and Transport called me. You know why? He got to work at 4 a.m. or thereabouts. That was one Jack Warner. He called me. He said, CEO, what time you're going to visit the flood? This is the Minister of Works and Transport calling me to ask me. You know why he could have done that? That was standard operating practice with Kamla. It can't flood and you go. It cannot have flood and you show up. Everybody at the shop. By 6 o'clock. I mean, I got to work at 5, just in case you didn't know, madam. You know, in case I had to I interviewing again. So when you become Prime Minister, I get to work at 5, you know. We may not have Jack, but I have Jillian, it's all right. So I'm at work at 5 a.m. And he called, what time you going down to St. Joseph Road? I called the Minister of Housing. I said, what are we to do there? I said, okay. I told Minister Warner, I said, we let us let the day come, no man. We need to, when we go, we need to see. And by 8 o'clock, we were going through. I'm talking about water up to your knees. And Jack Warner and I are in that water. We are in that water because Kamla Prasad Bisesa is sitting in the seat of the Prime Minister. You had to go and do that. We went through. As a matter of fact, I saw a lady I had moved a week before. Lady in a thing there. She went to see me, hiding from the lady. I actually went to a house in Mover. The press called me. I went there Saturday. We moved the woman. I see the woman. When she see me, she said, oh God, Jolene John, you bring me here to kill me. Because hiding, because I see the woman under pressure. We went through that water. I spoke to Dr. Munilal, who spoke to the Prime Minister. We have to move them. That was 20 families. We have to, the entire downstairs of that St. Joseph Road. So we have to move them. Where are you going to move them? I said, well, we could go to Arapoon because we have units there. The people say our lives are in Port of Spain, children going to DC. Down in St. Joseph Road, packing up the people, moving them out, paying for transportation, moving them into their new community, into those brand new units, which they got at a very reasonable price. Those people did not vote for Kamla. But it didn't matter to her. That is not how the UNC does run its business. Under the instruction of the Prime Minister, we had to move them. Under 24 hours, they were moved. In February 2011, fire got it in an IHEC apartment at a place called Balizy Avenue in Pleasantville. A Molotov cocktail was thrown in there. We had nothing to do with it. Mr. Manning was the MP for that area. He called the HDC. What are you going to do? I called Dr. Munilal, called his Prime Minister. What do you think we did? We moved every family, about 100 persons who were living in that building. They were affected and they were relocated to Taradale Heights. That is what we do. It doesn't matter if you vote for us or not. So what can you imagine if you vote for Kamla, what she going to do for you? Anila saying fire Rowley. Can you imagine someone you vote for, their heart just in the right place? And when you have trouble, you need someone not only with brilliance, but someone with empathy. And because a leader, the organization takes on the DNA of the leader, everybody playing Trump and follow suit. Everybody must do. And I can go on and on. December 2011, arson attack up on Parsley Street, up at Chumakak. 20 families, 2 babies died, and so on. When I got up there, they cussing me as if I throw I fight and light the place on fire. Cussing, I get it on. But under the instruction of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing, we were able to move the people up to Arapoon in brand new accommodation, and on and on. That's the kind of leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa is. And that is the kind of government she ran. Wherever there was trouble, wherever people were vulnerable, we were there. We found ourselves, everybody from top to bottom. When the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa in Digo Martin in the mud, every man Jack in Digo Martin in the mud, everybody had to be there looking on. So Trinidad and Tobago, we are learning the hard way that when you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. Go vote for Rowley PNM, then ask what the opposition doing. Anybody in the UNC lineup can do so much better than Rohan. They could do so much better than Alwari. Well, it ain't hard to be better than Heinz. It ain't hard. It ain't hard. So Trinidad and Tobago, we are ready to work on your behalf, just as we worked before. To us, there's no red Trinidad and Tobago and no yellow Trinidad and Tobago. We see only Trinidad and Tobago because unity and equity are fundamental UNC values. Fundamental. UNC, do not run away from your values. Never mind what they say. And do not speak only to those who agree with you. Talk to everybody. Talk on behalf of everybody. Do unto others. That is our principle, anchored by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Do unto others. I've never seen anybody so kind. Do unto others. Keep working. Let's keep fighting. All over the world, people are fighting for their rights. Today, surprisingly, in a place called Chongqing in southwest China, a maskless man was filmed shouting, "Give me liberty or give me death." And that's a rallying cry. Right now, they are protesting in China. So on the 10th of December, I just want to put a plug here. Put aside time to walk in the name of liberty, in the name of democracy, in the name of equity and the Constitution with Brother Victor Roberts, because nothing will change until the government, the PNM government, is changed. We want back Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I thank you.
If you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are one people under the sun, one nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's settled tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage dingo lekete, we come to play mass. Every creed and class, Dolan and bass. La carreti dive, all the love inside away.
First woman Prime Minister, first woman Attorney General, first woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations, first woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus, solid everywhere.
La carreti dive, all the love inside away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, UNC family. Let me thank our two chairpersons tonight, Councillor Javed, and of course our women's leader, Kenya. Thank you all very much. And the powerful lineup of speakers. Let's give them a round of applause. Annie Roberts, Senator, MP Rudal Munilal, MP David Lee, and Senator Jill and John. So we've had some tremendous speeches tonight as we thank them. And you know, whilst we say we are hurting and we are crying, I think seeing all of you here tonight, good night to you, good night to all those who are joining us on whichever device that you have. And always know this, we will always be here for you and we'll always be there for you. The UNC will be with you, head to head and foot to foot. And as I listen to our speakers tonight, I'm reminded of something that sometimes we forget it, but Anil never forgets it. Kirk Megu never forgets it. You know what it is? They're those armchair politicians and the keyboard warriors. They say nothing different. UNC, PNM, same waste of time. But tonight when you listen to the speakers, it is very clear that nothing is further from the truth. The UNC functions and governs in a manner that is totally people-centered. And in every regard, you know, one of you mentioned tonight, the Ministry of the People, I think it was David Lee, when he said, when we form the government again, within 90 days, we will re-establish the Ministry of the People. And when JJ reminded us tonight of when we went into those areas, in the flooded areas and so on, the Ministry of the People, the personnel, the then Minister Glenn Ramadar Singh, and the personnel from the Ministry of the People were on the ground, on the field, looking after the needs of people. And when it is there was flood, yes, we were out there with boots on the ground. Whatever it was, we were there. JJ mentioned the fire. I was there in those apartments, the AGC apartments, where the fire caused the loss of 2 children. I was there. And you were right, they didn't vote for me. They didn't vote for the UNC, but it doesn't matter whether you vote red or yellow. At the end of the day, I have told you it is the same red blood. If you cut me, if you cut any human being, it's the same red blood. So there's no race in this. I tell you, Morgan Job used to tell us, don't see race in every face, see grace in every face. Because we are all children of one God. We are all children of the same God. Whichever name we may call that God, we are all children of God. And therefore, that is why that humanity and that love is so important. You can have all the power in the world, you could fight all the politics you want, but if you do not have a heart for people, if you do not care for people, then you can never ever govern for the benefit of the people of your country or any country. Never, never ever. And I know we are talking about the flooding and we are crying about the flooding. I watched Faris earlier on TV, I think on Ian Ali's program, a piece of his press briefing, and he was saying 11 out of 14 regional corporations are impacted. Well, whose fault is that, Faris? Is that something to boast about, that 11 of the 14 corporations are underwater, we are flooded? Look, you look at all the headlines, express headlines. We never had it so high before. Al-Rawi, brace for more rainfall. Well, why are we bracing for rainfall? He in a fit, in a black tie, in the mayor's ball on Saturday night, jumping up and flexing. And I heard JJ tell us, I didn't know that part, that Heinz was also there, wanted to do the Rasta dance. But did you also know, JJ, put up that picture for me. You have it? This is this man sleeping on the job anywhere he goes. Anywhere he goes. So he probably did a 1 minute Rasta dance. And I'm told this is at 8:30 that evening, Saturday night. Sleeping on the job. Yes. You know, this social media, and it is a very deadly thing. It is totally deadly. You know, you just can't hide anymore. So Heinz sleeps on the job all the time, and I'll come back to him in a moment. No school today in Trinidad. Flood fair, Mafking braces for the worst. Areas cut off as Grand Couver Road closed. Top Cop, be careful out there. I'll come back to him as well. Carney River, burst banks. Deja vu as residents remember 2018 floods. Those were some Express headlines. And then you have the Guardian headlines, schools closed, weather disruptions, bad weather, not done with TT, Christmas prices will be high. Well, the price is high already, so you can imagine what's going to happen by Christmas. Summer farmers hit hard by flooding. Valsin South flooded a 5th time in 2 months. Woodland sees the worst flooding in years. Man's home surrounded by water over 3 months. And you know what Faris is saying in his press briefing, or wherever he did that, carried on Ian Allen's program earlier today. Well, he's saying, don't worry, clean up, instant, we'll be out there, we'll start clean up. Which clean up, Faris? When you're Prime Minister, you have to wait until the dry season. Wait until dry season. So what did you do with all the 6 dry seasons that you had in the 7 years you've been in office? Nothing. I think Dr. Mullah shared the numbers where monies were allocated to deal with flooding and flood mitigation, and they didn't spend the money. Why? Why did they not spend the money? I think he did a very good job. I don't have to go through it again. He did a good job to show you where some of the money went. All these buildings being restored, Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, continue, the 210 recusals for their friends and family to benefit. So they don't have money to do the things that you need, but they can find money to help their friends, their family, and their finances. And that's what has been happening. Headlines, man's home surrounded, I say, by water for 3 months. UNC begs Wasser to make sure people have water for cleanup. And then on the news, say water supply affected. And I think JJ did a good job of talking about that, where they're saying, was it one of you, about Marvin Gonzalez, minister, saying, you know, water, 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 and everywhere, surrounded by water. Floods hit East Trinidad. Farmers struggle to sprout after back-to-back floods. These are some of the headlines only in today's newspapers. And for the last several days, it has been the same and the same. And for the last several years, all 7 of them, this is what we've been getting from the Rowley PNM. So, talking about flooding, 11 of 14 corporations. Now before, you all remember it well, when you get flood, is all you build all your house in? The swamp, in the lagoon. You built your homes there, so take it. Now it's the whole of Trinidad that is being flooded. If it drizzles in Port of Spain, what happens? Floods the capital city of our country. And then Rohan had told us how much money he got to deal with the flooding in Port of Spain. What became of that? Because of their incompetence, they were not able to access the money from the loan that they had gotten. And the story continues. If you look at all the estimates, for things that matter to and for people, they don't find the money and they don't make the allocations to go down that road. So, UNC family, let me say good evening again. I'm very pleased that we could meet, and I'm always energized, even though we are sad and unhappy at what is happening, all these things affecting the tragedies in our country. There is nothing as good as seeing your faces and being able to talk with you again. So I thank you for the energy you give us. Every speaker here was energized by your presence, and for those who are listening on, because you do send us. By the time I get off here, I'm getting text messages, WhatsApp, whatever, email from all over the world. So we know you are listening and that you care. And there's one thing with a Trini. Trini can go anywhere in the world. And you know, if they're in Trinidad, they may not read the newspapers. But when they're outside of Trinidad, they keep up with the news. Is that true? Sometimes you talk to some Trinis, and they know more about what is happening here than some people in Trinidad and Tobago. So let me come back to the point. The armchair politicians and the keyboard warriors, UNC, PNM, same old khaki pants. I beg to totally disagree. Our reaction or interventions when it comes to helping people will far overshadow, overreach anything that the PNM has ever done in the 7 years. And so you see, I seen the Prime Minister, he put out a warning on his Facebook page from an American weather channel. 2 days after, he was totally silent, totally absent. Nothing about what the ODPM was doing or going to do, helping out. Nothing came out of his office. And that was the extent of him dealing with the flooding we are seeing across the country. I will not sing my own praises. Others have done it here tonight. We were out there up front, in your face, up front, personal. From, as JJ said it, from top to bottom, we were out there anytime the need arose. And tonight, again, I want to thank UNC MPs and councillors and activists who have been out there giving assistance wherever the flooding is taking place. Let's congratulate them and thank them. Now, I told you last time I spoke that on the 4th of this December, which would have been next Sunday, which is next Sunday, that we will host our National Congress. I think it would have been a great thing for us to do, but tonight I want to advise. We will reschedule that National Congress because I want every one of you, every MP, every councillor, every activist, and any person in this country to use that day instead to help those in need for the cleanup and whatever assistance else we can do. We can reschedule our Congress. The sky will not fall. We will reschedule the Congress, but I think this is so vital and important. You're doing it all week, and then on the weekend, I want you to make every effort in every area that you are, as a UNC activist, and indeed any citizen who will fly the red, white, and black to be out there to give assistance to those in need. And as I talk about that, you know, Mr. Faris Alwari has a little problem with the law. I told you before he's a dunce, and I've now confirmed again that he's a dunce. Now people don't like to hear these things, but we must admit it. This is a man who had some meeting somewhere for something they're having. The PNM is having their own issues and so on. And he stood up that meeting and he said, Kamala, read section so-and-so of so-and-so act. I did read it, Faris, but I'm going to ask you to read Act number 23 of 1998, which changed the financial year, which used to be from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. You have now gone on oath and sworn an affidavit to mislead the court. Some people say you're lying to the court. Well, it's a lie, it's true, because that's not true. Lying to the court to try to swing a judgment in your favor, in favor of a decision that you all made. You swore to the court that the financial year begins 1st January. And why did you do that? You did it because you do not want the court to rule. And Mr. Maraj is here. He's our litigant. Give him a round of applause. Ravi Balgobin Maraj. It is a matter dealing with the local government elections and the decision of the government to postpone those elections. And so that matter is coming up tomorrow morning. But Faris, over the last couple of days, on the court's directions, files his affidavit. So this gentleman has been a lawyer for I don't know how many years, one. This gentleman has been in the House for at least 7 budgets, agreed? From 2015, they read the 2015-16 budget, every year for 7 years. And before that, he was in the Senate and read budgets there as well. So over 7 years, debates have taken place on the budget for the financial year beginning when? Always September 1. Sorry, October 1. Ends end of October 1 to 30th September. Thanks, Tak. October 1. This law was passed since in 1998 to change the financial year. But Faris swears this because if the court gives a judgment in favor of the applicants, that it will shut down everything. They will not be able to send their estimates for the minister to approve. All that is done long before Faris. Says last, from when we did our budget, when was that? 22nd September, somewhere around that time. October, why am I mixing? I don't want to end up the same place like him. Let's get it clear. Financial year begins 1st October in every year and ends 30th September. It's a year, but it's called a fiscal year or financial year. Yet Faris attempts to mislead the court to say it begins in January 1. And therefore, should the court move in the direction of the applicants challenging this local government election, then all the corporations will suffer because they would not have done what they have to do for the financial year. That happened long before. And what we'll be going into in January is the second quarter of the financial year. So I'm just bringing that to you. The case is on tomorrow. We leave it in the hands of the judges. But I do believe I've spent a lot of time on this matter together with our very brilliant senior counsel, Anand Ramlogan. And we have an excellent case. And I will tell you, win, lose, or draw tomorrow, this matter will go whichever side wins or loses or draws. It will not end here. It will go further up to wherever it has to go, Court of Appeal and our final court at the Privy Council. I'm not saying if we lose, we will appeal. I'm saying whichever side wins. This is too important a matter. The government will never want to admit, should they lose, that they were wrong in the decision they make. So we look forward to things happening tomorrow. So whilst Faris is now worrying about flooding and standing up in water, you know, I saw him stand up, but I don't think he even had on boots, you know. Somebody tell this local government minister, who has no experience in local government, and now I'm saying he doesn't have enough experience and knowledge of the law. I don't know what possibly he could do. But you told me nobody could worse than Heinz. Isn't that what JJ told us? Not any one of them. It's a close race, Adel. Thank you. Close race. So I share that with you, and I repeat, we will not proceed with the Congress on the 4th. We will have other days for that Congress. So all about flooding. All my colleagues spoke about the flooding. Let's make sure all my colleagues and all of us are out there giving assistance to those in need. The issue of the farmers, I spoke of that recently, and I think it was last week, Monday, when I said that we had started a process to do an insurance for farmers, an insurance scheme. And after I spoke, our General Secretary, Peter Kanhai, showed me an article where we had actually begun the work to set up the insurance fund to help farmers when disasters like these happen. And, well, then we went out of office, and as you know, JJ tells us elections have consequences, and the PNM never carried it through. 7 years later, all these years of flooding, can you imagine how much help people would have gotten had we put that? So when you give us the authority to form the next government, we will put in place insurance policies for farmers. Crime. Well, I showed you this man sleeping on the job. Last month when I spoke, I told you we were going to do a motion in the Parliament about crime. Finally, we were able to debate a private motion brought by former Senator, now MP Saddam Hussein, on the government's failure in dealing with crime. And it was the most amazing thing that the Minister of National Security got up to respond and had absolutely nothing to tell the country. In that Parliament, nothing to tell the country what the plans were. We have now passed the bloodiest year in our history with the number of murders. The second highest, which was the highest until yesterday, was also under the PNM. And now under this Rowley PNM, we have passed that grim statistic of having the most murders in a year in the entire history of Trinidad and Tobago. In the entire history of Trinidad and Tobago. And all of this under Rowley's PNM and, of course, Minister Hines. So Jacob's come to tell us, you know, Mr. Jacob, I have respect for your office. But I find it really, really totally out of place for Jacobs to be coming to tell us that we must support bail legislation. When the people absconded from the Pennywise, we must support the bail legislation. The answer is not to lock up everybody. You don't have space in the jails for everyone. Your answer, mouthing, you're in fact parroting, repeating what this government is telling you. When you had the bail law, what happened? Did the murders decrease? No. That is not the recipe, not the formula to bring down crime. It is not, it is not, it is not. And when will you ever learn? Hines stood in that Parliament on Friday and to our dismay had nothing to tell the country about what they will do with respect to rising crime, continually rising, spiraling crime, nothing to do. And what he spent the time doing? He spent his time instead talking about Kamala put back somebody in the Senate. What that has to do with spiraling crime? What does it have to do? And that's how they are. They never deal with issues. They always come with what people, you will know the words, some of you, ad hominem attacks. They cannot deal with the issue, so they go at the person. And JJ, don't bother me, Rowley, talking about me in 90 and thinking, you know, that and God face he will never see. Never, never ever see. That's worry. That's worry. Worry at all. But that's how they attack people. They attack people personally when they cannot deal with the issues. See, calling different people name and whatever and whatever. And Saddam got up to object because you cannot impugn a person from the other house, Senate, in our house and vice versa. Of course, the Parliament did not see that way, and he continued and was allowed so to do. But what does that have to do with fighting crime? You know, you never lock up Anil. Whatever it is happened. The man went to court, he win the case. You all remember that? I get so exasperated because some of our own people sometimes buy any lies. They buy it hook, line, and sinker. And if you cannot understand and learn to believe that they will lie, and when you tell them they will lie again. I told you tonight about that house, the Tobago house. These fellas repeating the lie when the document we have was filed in the Parliament, you know, by the Office of the Prime Minister, which totals the $63 million. spent on that house. And what Dr. Munilal didn't tell you is in the estimates of expenditure for that house in this budget for 2022-23 is an additional $10 million. In the estimates, in what we call the yellow books, estimates for expenditure, Prime Minister's Tobago residents, 10 million. So to say they've committed, they've spent the 63 Dr. Munilal spoke of. And what is this additional 10 million? Is it to pay the 15 outstanding? What is it for? So we know from the office of the Prime Minister, filed in the Parliament because the question was asked during the Standing Finance Committee, and that is written in black and white. Didn't come from any of their mouths because they're liars, I'm telling you. And I've seen that story over and over in the papers. People telling you, I think Garcia himself saying no, Munilal and Wade Mark not speaking the truth. So I want you to understand, they have no compunction. They have no conscience when it comes to lying, bold-faced and brass-faced in the Parliament. I remember when we talked about the recusals, Faris Al-Rawi told the Parliament that Kamala gave contract to her family. Yes, Kamala, when she was Prime Minister, gave contract. Well, we filed on him right away in the Parliament. And by the next week, what did he do? He apologized. You always remember these things. Some of you didn't miss the apology, but because he lied. He lied and we caught him flat-footed with his lie. Sometimes they lie, and when you try to get them to admit their lies, and the way the Parliament works, that is not always possible. You would have seen that our MP, Dave Tanku, had spoken about matters happening in the Parliament when we had filed motions to be able to talk about, to debate matters related to crime, because we felt crime was a definite matter of urgent public importance. And MP Tanku made some statements and so on about what transpired in the Parliament. And next thing you know, Mr. Scotland, the Colpot man himself, Mohini, Colpot man in Parliament Friday, bring a motion against MP Tanku to send him to the Privileges Committee. So they can't tell us how they will deal with crime, but they want to shut us up. We must not speak. We must say nothing. But I tell you here tonight, we will never shut up. We will never shut up. We will take them all the way and every way as we go. And as I close, I want to just talk about the Paria Commission inquiry. I know several of my colleagues spoke of it tonight. And it is really heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, but you know, I always tell you, God does not sleep, only wears pajamas. And therefore, I hope that justice will be done with respect to those persons who lost their lives, their families who lost their lives. And we are paying millions of dollars to the Eater food lawyers again. Millions. But we cannot give 1 penny. We cannot give 1 cent. I don't know, we don't have a cent again. They took out the cent from our currency. We don't have cents again. But they will give not a mouthful of food to the families. I saw the story this weekend where Christopher Boudran's family is saying, look, he could not work, cannot work since this accident. He has children, wife, all those divers. How are they surviving? How are they living? Good Samaritans are helping, but the government will spend millions of dollars on Eater food lawyers. And today I want to ask whether the lawyer for the Commission of Inquiry into Paria, whether he's the same Peterson who got a contract with Petrotrin, bunkering contract. Is he the person who got a bunkering contract? Yes, with no experience in bunkering? And is he the same lawyer now prosecuting on behalf of the government, on behalf of Paria? Same person. Same person. And I am amazed. Whilst I congratulate the commissioner, I think he's a fair person. He wants to get the truth. The King's Counsel from Jamaica. I want to congratulate Ramesh Maharaj. I thought Ramesh was a quiet fella, but I want to congratulate Prakash Ramadar. They're asking the real hard questions. And Gilbert Peterson, nice guy. He was in my law class, by the way. That doesn't mean anything good for me or him, but he was in the same class I was in. And I'm amazed at the way his witnesses are what is the word, unfolding or mashing up. So obviously, he probably didn't even do that part of his work to drill his witnesses, because the case is just crumbling. Case is bunkering, okay. Case is bunkering. I will say no more about that commission of inquiry, but I'm very happy that we stood up and we fought. I think David Lee mentioned we fought, and not just me, we fought against what would have been a conflict of interest and compromising of that commission of inquiry. But thus far, I am very impressed with the conduct of the commission of inquiry and the persons who have been mandated to prosecute or defend, as the case would be. Well, we cannot say the same for the state officials. Cannot say the same for the state officials, and David Lee mentioned it, so I will not go further into that. But can you imagine the horror? Can you imagine the pain? We all went through that, you know, when that was happening. And now when you see the autopsy reports that these guys may have been alive for days in these lines, man. Can you imagine yourself, any one of your loved ones in a position, can you even begin to imagine? And then from the evidence coming forward, it is clear that Barrier did nothing. The officials did nothing. Evidence, in fact, says, hey, they stopped the people who wanted to help. Can you imagine that horror? And whilst we imagine that now, is waking us up again and reminding us about it. Dr. Munilal tonight did a good thing to remind us of so many other horrors. It is like we are lurching from one horror, one tragedy, one crisis into the next. Before you could even recover from one, it's the next one hitting you down. Friends, we cannot stay quiet. We cannot be cowards. We cannot be afraid and let every week is a whammy in your face. Nelson Gate scandal, that the ink has not even dried on the paper yet on Nelson Gate. Then it's the next scandal and the next scandal and the next crisis. We came out of COVID, people into lockdown. We say, okay, we can move about now. The country is opening up. Look, this is great. What happens? We get knocked down. After COVID, we get knocked down again. Knocked down again. Flooding knock us down. Pressure. It's not pressure, you know. It is this wicked, incompetent, evil, rowdy government. That's what it is. That is what is the pressure. And therefore we cannot rest until, we cannot and must not rest until we do all that we can and make sure that this government is removed, the Rowley PNM is removed. Rowley must go and all of them must go. Every one of them. All. I remember in the budget debate, Taka helped me with this. We were talking about HSF. And in my contribution, I said that the HSF had lost $10 billion. Yes, $10 billion. Well, now we've gone more. 16 billion, he's reminded me. Our HSF, what is our HSF? Your money, taxpayers' money. $16 billion had lost. And then just before, 2 days before the budget, we kept telling the government, but they kept hiding and denying. And 2 days before the actual budget speech from Iwer, they put in 163. How much is that? 163, about 163 US, to bring us up to par. 5.6 billion US. So we had lost that money. Why? Is it that they are investing, and the people who have doing investments on our HSF monies, that they're not investing it in the right places? TAC will do a little more research and let us know, but they denied it, and I come to you again, they lie. And will repeat lies. And even when I say this tonight, which is reported, they have to file a report in the Parliament on the HSF. Reported in that report. Stated there. They will still come back and say we lied. No. We had 45.6 billion. No. We had it. But when? So for 6 months, more than 6 months, you lied to the country. MP Rodney Charles is always asking about HSF, always asking. You're supposed to make deposits When we asked, well, how much extra you got? You said you got extra dollars from the increased oil and gas prices. Okay, you put that into the HSF, but all along you were not putting any monies in. So, you know, you could run, they always say, but you could never hide, it will catch up with you one day. And this government will continue with their wicked ways unless we get up. We stand up and be counted. We must do that. I saw somebody put out, Mr. Victor Roberts is doing his march next week, on the 7th of December, Thursday, 10th, on the 10th of December, first leg, first phase. And I saw somebody in response put up a message saying, if you take off your UNC shirt and put on a red, white, and black shirt, I will come and march with you. Well, don't get fooled with that. And I saw some P&M troll operative. Don't get fooled with that. If you believe in the red, white, and black, then put on whatever color you want and come and join the march against this government. Put on any color. Any color, all are welcome. I always tell you, if the world was made up of only one color, what a boring world it would be. If all the trees and the plants one color, what a boring world it would be. And if it is, that the people of each of you, look how beautiful we are in every color of the rainbow. That is what planet Earth is, that we know. And therefore, don't come in no mama guy. What is wrong with a UNC shirt, I ask you? Be proud, UNC and proud. Be UNC and proud. Always be UNC and proud. So as we close, I have a few councillors here. Just acknowledge them. Prakash Bharat, please. Welcome, thank you. Gauri Ruparan, Chairman of Princestown. And you are one of the corporations out of the 11 that are under flood. Jaylin Rupnarayan, Tunapuna, Dan Bishop, Smalley, good to see you. Angie Benjamin, who has just returned. Kevin Gibbs, welcome to you all. Last week, the councillors who were here, I allowed them to speak, but the time is a bit against us tonight, so I just want to thank you. You didn't come last week, some of you. Raquel was here with us last week, I think she's here. And Diaz was also here. So thank you all very much. As I say, on Sunday we have a change of plans. We reschedule the Congress and instead embark on mission to help those in greatest need. I thank you and God bless you all.
So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's set till tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. Too bright. Let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramajedi